Hello everyone, welcome to another session of General Manager's Corner, and today this is going to be the first of a four-part series in which we talk about the golf clubhouse of the future. Today I have a very special guest, Mr. Marty Hackel. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure. For those who don't know Marty, Golf Digest, he's on television and he's affectionately known as Mr. Style and Fashion Kingmaker for golfers and many other industries. I kind of know you as a fashion icon today and with your nickname Mr. Style, but have you always been into fashion? How did you get into the business and what brought you into this line of intersection of fashion and golf?
Well, you know, Howard, I started out in retail, and the reason why I started out in retail is very simple. I wanted a scorecard. And with retail, you know, at the end of the day, here's your scorecard. So you get feedback pretty instantly. And I started out, I went to work in Minneapolis for Dayton's, a store that no longer exists. But it was great back in the 70s when I went there. And I went from Dayton's a couple of years, and then I went to Neiman Marcus. And I was Stanley Marcus's assistant, was my first job. So I really sort of was at the foot of the master of promotional retail. Stanley Marcus and Neiman Marcus really wrote a big chapter in that book. And I spent a long time in Neiman Marcus, did a bunch of different things, primarily in merchandising and in the catalog. Loved it. Went from there to Bottega Veneta and helped them open all of their stores in Paris and Venice, and it sounds a lot cooler than it was. But it was getting on and off a lot of planes. And then I went from there to run a company called Filofax, which are the people that make agendas. So I love writing stuff down on paper. And that was great, and then we sold that company, and then I started hanging out with my friends. I had a lot of free time, and I took up golf.
Right.
And when I took up golf, wow, this is really a cool sport. At the same time, I went to work at a company called Alexander Julian Fashion Company, and Alex made sportswear. So we started making sportswear for golf. So I started to really get involved in golf and loved it. And from there, in 2000, Condé Nast bought Golf Digest magazine from the New York Times. And when Condé Nast, which was really a fashion company, Vogue, Gentleman's Quarterly, etc., Condé Nast wanted to have a really fashionable look in all of their publications. And I knew the CEO, and I went to him and I said, boy, you know, these guys, you know, you could dress your players a little bit better. The covers could look a little bit better. It's the wrong belt with the wrong pants, and you could make that really look fantastic. So I went to work at Golf Digest in 2000, and the rest is history.
Right. I think that's a wonderful story. So that sort of foundation from retail, which eventually pivoted into golf, that sort of intersection combination is similar to what we see in the modern, in the traditional golf clubhouse with the pro shop. Can you give us a little bit about what your background, based on your background, what do you see and how do you feel about today's golf pro shops?
Well, you know, I think less is more, Howard. I think keep it simple. You know, what we always felt at Neiman Marcus was a customer should be able to come into the store and see everything. Nothing should be hidden or blocked, number one. Number two, if you think you have a lot of merchandise on the floor, you probably do. You should be taking some of it out. My grandmother once said, if you tell a good joke and people laugh, shut up. The second joke is not going to be as funny. The same thing with merchandising. Reduce the amount of choices. I don't know about you, Howard, but I know if I go home and give Mrs. H 6 choices of places to go for dinner, I'm going to be waiting for another hour and a half before she decides. If I give her 2 or 3 choices, boom, that's it, we're out the door.
Right.
So keep it simple, I think, is something that people could use as an everyday mantra.
You've expressed that we've had discussions before about like what the modern pro shop might look like. Keeping it simple is one aspect of it, but you've also mentioned some really unique ideas and sort of groundbreaking compared to what we've talked about today with eliminating some of the obstacles that encumber the interface and interaction between the users and the retail users and then the seller.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of my pet peeves. Eliminate those counters. You don't need, this is not a bank. People are coming into a golf shop in a golf environment. They're about to go out and have some fun. They don't need to feel like they're in a structured environment. And service, is everything. And service is better accomplished face to face, not over a counter. So I think eliminate those counters, number one. And number two, everyone knows when they're in a golf shop that you're going to have golf balls and golf gloves. So don't take the most obvious location, that front and center, and present golf balls and golf clubs. This is a chance for you to really present, something that will stimulate people. Maybe it's a new rangefinder. Maybe it's a great new hat. Maybe it's a great ball marker. Maybe it's just something that's fun. So don't do the obvious.
So Marty, aside from some of the mistakes that you were talking about there with what we see in pro shops, what other mistakes do you find that traditional or typical golf clubs make with their merchandising?
They don't think good, better, best. They don't think give the customer simple options. Once again, if you give people too wide an assortment, if you give people a $75 item, an $80 item, an $85, a $90, a $95, there's not enough separation there. Keep it simple. Keep your choices and your selections with a variety. You're making a salad, if you will. You're not just selling lettuce, So let's get some carrots. Let's get some celery. Let's get some radishes. Let's get some tomatoes. Let's get some cucumbers. Let's throw in a few mushrooms and have some fun.
Just as a final question to kind of conclude, as we sort of talk about the pro shops as you see them and how they sort of fit into the clubhouse of the future, which is a special project that we're going to work on together here soon. But just give us a little bit of an idea of what you think as a summary statement of what the retail shop of the future would look like at a member club.
I think it should be very open. I think it should be very simple. I think it should be much smaller than people think a pro shop should be. And I think it should be very clear. And I don't think we need to see stacks of merchandise. We need to see a nice selection, a simple selection with defined choices. We need to see a staff that's face to face with whomever the guest is or the member in that shop. We need to transact business, maybe like an Apple store. Keep it really simple.
One-on-one.
One-on-one. Yeah, perfect way to state that.
Yeah. Marty Hackel, Mr. Staub, thank you, as always, for spending some time with us.
Thanks, Howard. It's been fun.